Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture to see how those incidents may or may not affect our daily lives. Listen, as you saw me report last night, as you saw, Sean Combs was arrested, and he was arrested. He was arrested last night. The indictment was not posted. I received a copy of this indictment. Uh, So I'm going to go over it and I'm going to release this video uh, when we can get it out here. Okay. Again, a bit of housekeeping. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. You see all my information scrolling down here on the banner to my other social media sites and how to support this channel. All right, let's get into it. We are going to read. We're just going to read it and then go from there. So this is from the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, United States of America versus Sean Combs. The grand jury charges, count one, racketeering conspiracy. It says here, for decades, Sean Combs, and they gave all his AKAs, the defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and to conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Now, I'm wondering, is that arson having to do with Kid Cudi's car? Sean Combs, the defendant, operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Entertainment, and Combs Global. And all of these will be collectively known as Combs Business. Corporate entities in Combs Business included, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcohol spirits business, a marketing agency, and a television network and media company. At all times to the indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern towards women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. So this sounds like they pulled that from Cassie's case. At times, Combs and others acting at his direction made arrangements for women and commercial sex workers to fly to Combs' location. Combs ensured participation from the women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same, and using intimidation and violence. Physical abuse by Sean Combs, the defendant, was reoccurrent and widely known. On numerous occasions from at least or in on about 2009 and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects, and kicking at them. These assaults, which at times witnessed by others and included one instance at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2026, which was captured on video and later publicly reported. So they used that video. So do we now kind of conclude or make it the assumption that the feds released the video that they received? Mm-hmm. But it was released because this is that Cassie video that they're talking about. Where Combs kicked and dragged and threw a vase at a woman as she attempted to leave. When a member of the hotel security staff intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. Combs' violence was not limited to these women. It extended to his employees, witnesses to his abuse. Now, this is going to be interesting because it says it extended to his employees. Because remember, y'all, as I've said in previous videos, there was a lot of people around that knew that this behavior was happening, and no one stepped in any earlier in that. And why did they not step into earlier that? It extended to his employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others. So again, money and power can ensure silence, even voluntary or involuntary. So let's continue. Sean Combs, the defendant, used the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his abuse in commercial sex. Now, see, again, this is coming from Cassie's lawsuit, because remember how Cassie said that he would beat her up and then he'd have her held up into a hotel until she healed? Those employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors and other close associates, acted as Combs' intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs controlling the business. And I can't remember whose lawsuit that was talking about all the different people who were involved in the mess that was going on. Because you remember how they talked about some executive, some executives and things like that were part of all of this, not just in Cassie's incident, but I think it's in Little Rod's incident where he had reported in his lawsuit. And we could go back over there because as I counted, there's a lot of little different lawsuits going on here for Diddy at this point. All right. The Combs enterprise. From at least or in about 2008 through on to about the date of the filing of this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, and other known and unknown were members and associates of a criminal organization, the Combs Enterprise. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transport for purpose of prostitution, coercion, enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Now they're getting into the meats and the potatoes of it all. The Combs Enterprise, including its leadership, its members, and its associates, constituted an enterprise as defined by Title 18, United States Code, Section 196, 1961, sub 4. That is a group of individuals associated, in fact, although not a legal entity. The Combs Enterprise consisted of Sean Combs and all the defendant, entities within the Combs business, including but not limited to Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global. Individuals employed by and associated with Combs businesses and others. So that means they are, as we speak, they are rounding up people who were working for them, and also they're not safe. They are not safe. They think that they're safe, but they're not safe, because now that you start to think about it, because you remember there was a bodyguard of Sean Combs that was doing all this talking about what had happened and things like that. Y'all are not safe. Doesn't seem like y'all are going to be safe, because it's talking about all of you all as an entity, individuals employed by and associated with the Combs business, and others known and unknown. Y'all are not safe. Y'all are not safe. Y'all are not safe. The Combs Enterprise so a lot of people are about to be trying to rush to get a plea deal so that they'll probably testify to get immunity. Oh, it's about to be on like popcorn, because they're not safe. They know they're not safe. The Combs Enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members function as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the objectives of the Combs Enterprise. The Combs Enterprise was engaged in, and its activities affected interstate and foreign commerce. The Combs Enterprise operated in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. At all times relevant to this indictment, The defendant was the leader of Combs Enterprise. Sean Combs, the defendant, and other known and unknown participated in an unlawful and other activities related to the conduct of the Combs Enterprise affair. These individuals included certain Combs business employees, my God, today, such as members of Combs security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors, as well as others close associates of Combs. Purposes of the Combs Enterprise. The purpose of the Combs Enterprise included the following: operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, including, among other things, record label, a recording studio, a apparel line, alcohol spirits business, marketing agency, and a television network and media company. You see how what's the name? Complex quickly broke ties with him. So Rock quickly broke ties with him. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power, reputation, and brand of Sean Combs, the defendant as a musician, entrepreneur, and figure in the entertainment business industry, enriching members and associates of the enterprise, including its leader, Combs, and particularly those who demonstrated loyalty to Combs and willingness to conceal his crimes. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power of the Combs enterprise, including the power of its leader, Combs, through violence, use of firearms, threats of violence, coercion, and verbal and emotional and sexual abuse. Fulfilling the personal desires of Combs, particularly those related to Combs' sexual gratification, including through the exploitation of women and the use of commercial sex workers, enabling Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise to engage in unlawful acts of violence, including sexual violence, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for the purpose of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics distribution, and other crimes, and concealing the commission of such acts. Securing absolute loyalty from members of the Combs enterprise, including through acts of violence and threats. And protecting the Combs enterprise and its members and associates, including Combs, from detection and prosecution by law enforcement authorities through acts of intimidation, manipulation, bribery, and threats of retaliation against individuals witnessed the crimes committed by members and associates of the enterprise. The means and method of enterprise. Among the means and method by which Sean Combs, the defendant, and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise conducted and participated in the conduct and the affairs of the Combs enterprise included the following: Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role in the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often with the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs then used Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. My gosh. The freak-offs were elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. That's what they got him, because he probably kept those mementos. His actions are horrible and inoffensive, but those electronic recordings is what got his tail. That's what they were looking for at his home. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with assistance of members and associate of the Combs enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial sex workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Sometimes unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victim typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. And you remember in Little Rod's lawsuit, he talked about having to wear like a little ball cap and go out and get the sex workers to come to I guess to entertain in these freak offs. And also Cassie mentioned this in her lawsuit as well. And let me see, I don't know whose lawsuit where it mentioned he would I think it was the lady that filed back in March. She mentioned that she had been drugged in her lawsuit as well. Child, there's so much stuff. You got to try to pick out which lawsuit said what. Members and associates of the Comb enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistant, and other Comb business employees, facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms for the freak-off, stocking the hotel room in advance with required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. Cleaning the hotel after the freak-offs to try to mitigate the room's damage, arranging for travel for victim, commercial sex workers, and Combs to and from freak-offs. So he wouldn't have them at it sounds like he would. This was a well-run machine in regards to doing all those things. As you remember that video that leaked of him whooping up whooping feet on Cassie. You see how he came out of there with that big old fluffy towel? I wonder was those things supplied by the staff. Resupplying Comb with requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Comb to pay the commercial sex workers, and scheduling the delivery of the IV fluids. In or about March 2024, doing searches of Combs resident in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles. Come on, let's see what we got. Law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. You got to be kidding. You got to be kidding me. He must have been a little itty bitty bottles. 1,000 bottles of baby oil? Combs, so sorry, y'all. Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak-offs. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promises of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substance. Monitoring their medical records. Monitoring their medical records. We heard that. Didn't we hear that from Cassie's lawsuit? That was coming from Cassie. Oh. During and separate from the freak-offs, Comb, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Combs also threatened victims' career and livelihoods, including if they resisted participating in freak-offs. Victims believed that they could not refuse Combs' demand without risking their financial or job security, or without repercussion in the form of physical emotional abuse. Combs also used sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings that he made during the freak-offs as collateral to ensure the continued obedience and silence of the victims. Now, they didn't say anything about that, but they did talk about the supplying that baby oil. But I don't see, well, let's continue because we're only on page, 7. Members and associates of the Comb enterprise, including Combs security personnel, at times carried firearms. In more than one occasion, Combs himself carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten others, including victims and witnesses to his abuse. In or about March, now, it's been rumored that, you remember when Shine was convicted of shooting that girl and that woman at the club, and they're saying that the way he would do it is that they wouldn't back then they wouldn't pat down the girls. So if he was with a woman, and I think at that point it may have been J-Lo at the time, but like I said, all of this is alleged. I don't know if this happened the way it is, but they're saying that he was the one brandishing the gun and Shine took the fall. This is going to be interesting. Where were we? During and is separate from free calls, Combs, among other things, hit. Okay, we read that. Members and associate of the Combs enterprise, including Combs security personnel, at the time carried firearms. Okay. On one or more occasions, Combs himself carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten others. I apologize for stumbling over my words, people. Including victims of and witnesses to his abuse. On or about March 2024, during searches of Combs residents in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers, as well as a drum magazine. Members and associate of the Combs enterprise enabled Combs' control over victims by following his directions regarding financial payments to victims, advancing or suppressing the victims' career opportunities, and acquiring the controlled substances Combs used to keep the victims compliant. Members and associate of the Combs enterprise at times witnessed Combs' violence toward the victims on the victims' injured women. Members and associate of the Combs enterprise at times witnessed Combs' violence toward the victims or the victims' injuries caused by Combs without intervening. Instead, members and associates of the Combs enterprise helped conceal the violence and abuse by, among other things, assisting Combs in monitoring and preventing victims from leaving locations such as hotels or Combs residence. These occasions included instances of which a victim was required to remain in hiding, sometimes for several days at a time, to recover from injuries Combs inflicted without being publicly observed. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise also assisted Combs in locating and contacting victims who attempted to flee his abuse. You remember Little Rod's lawsuit? Was it Little Rod's lawsuit? They're all a blur. No, I think it was Cassie that said that she went to Florida, or she left somewhere, and the executives of the music executives were calling her, letting her know that if you don't come back, your career, it was a whole lot. Your career is going to be stalled. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. I have to pull up all those lawsuits, but let's get through this. When employees witnesses to his abuse or other threatened Combs' authority or reputation, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise engaged in acts of violence, threats of financial and reputational harm, and verbal abuse. These acts of violence included kidnapping and arson. In addition, on multiple occasions, Combs threw both objects and people, as well as hit, dragged, choked, and shoved others. Wait a minute. Take a drink. Through people. When Combs's authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023, following public allegation of Combs' crime, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery to stay silent. Oh my gosh. And they said this is in 2023. So that was late last year. Pressure witnesses and victims, including through bribery to stay silent, not to report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with false narrative of events and in an effort to conceal Combs' crimes. Combs caused these calls to be recorded on at least 2 occasions. Oh gosh. Now we got your voice saying you're doing all of these things. Let's get into the racketeering conspiracy. From at least in or about 2008 through on and about the date of the filing of this indictment in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Sean Combs and others known and unknown, being persons employed by and associated with the Combs enterprise, described in paragraph 6 through 12 of this indictment, an enterprise engaged in the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate the racketeering laws of the United States, to wit, Title 18, United States Code, Section 1962C, that is, to conduct and to participate directly and indirectly. They come, y'all better get, they coming, y'all. Those of you all that covered up all of this stuff, they're coming for y'all. They are coming for y'all. Hold on just one moment. All right. I had to take a big old drink. Take a sip. I didn't want to be gulping. Let's see where we are. Conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activities, as the term is defined in Title 18, United States Code Section 196. Is that L? And 191 and 196.5, consisting of multiple acts involving kidnapping, chargeable under the following provision of state law: California Penal Code, kidnapping, California Penal Code, attempted kidnapping, California Penal Code 31, aiding and abetting, and California Penal Code 182, conspiracy. I'm going to read those again. Multiple acts involving kidnapping, chargeable under the following provisions of state law: California Penal Code 207, kidnapping, California Penal Code 21A, 664, attempted kidnapping, California Penal Code 31, aiding and abetting, and California Penal Code 182, conspiracy. Multiple acts involving arson, chargeable under the following provision of state law: California Penal Code 451, arson, California Penal Code 21A, 664, attempted, California Penal Code 31, aiding and abetting, and California Penal Code 182, conspiracy. Multiple acts of involving bribery, chargeable under the following provisions of state law: California Penal 137A, bribery of a witness, California Penal Code 21A, 664, attempted bribery of a witness, California Penal Code 31, aiding and abetting, and California Penal Code 182, conspiracy. Multiple acts under Title 18, United States Code, Section 1512, relating to tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. Multiple acts indictable under Title 18, United States Code Section 1589 and 2, relating to forced labor. That was Lil Rod. He said that he didn't get paid. Multiple acts under. I wonder. You remember when Making the Band was happening? He made them folks walk all over these places to get cheesecake. Do you think they got? You think they got a case, y'all? Let me stop. I'm being silly. Multiple acts indictable under Title 18, United States Code Section 1591 and 2, relating to sex trafficking. Multiple acts indictable under Title 18, United States Code Section 2421, 2422, and 2, relating to transportation and inducement to travel for purposes of prostitution and other illegal sexual activities. Multiple offenses, including the possession with the intent to distribute or distribution of narcotics and controlled substances, including cocaine, oxycodone, alazapram, alprazolam. What is this? Methyl dioxymethamphetamines, uh, bromo 2,5 deoxyamphetamine, gamma hydroxybutyric acid, and ketamine in violation of Title 21 United States Code Section 814A1, B1C, B1E, B2, and 846, distribution and possession with intent to distribute, and conspiracy to do the same. So he over there drug dealing. It was a part of conspiracy that Sean Combs, the defendant, agreed that a conspirator commit at least 2 acts of racketeering activity in the conduct of the affair of the Combs enterprise. Notice of special sentencing factor from at least in or about 2009 up to about including 2018 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, as part of his agreement to conduct and participate in the conduct of the affairs of Combs Enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. Sean Combs agreed to and in affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, obtain, advertise, maintain, patronize, and solicit by any means a person knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact, the means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion as described in Title 18, the United States Code section. And any combination of such means would be used to cause a person to engage in commercial sex acts in violation of Title 18 United States Code 1591A, 1, and B1. Whew! Now we're getting to just count 2. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. The grand jury further charges from at least or in and about 2009 up into the indictment about 2018 in the Southern District of New York. Sean Combs, in an effort affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, and solicited by any means a person knowing in a reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, and coercion as described in Title 18 United States Code Section 1591E2 and any combination of such means would be used to cause the person to engage in commercial sex acts and attempted, aided, and abetted and willfully caused the same. To wit, Combs recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, and maintained a person, victim 1, and attempted, aided, and abetted and willfully caused victim 1 to engage in commercial sex acts, knowing in his reckless disregard of the fact that victim 1 was engaged in commercial sex acts as a result force of coercion. Count 3. Transportation to engage in prostitution. The grand jury further charges from at least in or about 2009 up into include about 2024. 24 in the Southern District of New York. Sean Combs knowingly transported an individual in interstate and foreign commerce with intent that the individual engage in prostitution and attempted, aided, and abetted and willfully caused the same. To wit, Combs transported, aided, and abetted and willfully caused the transportation of female victims and commercial sex workers in interstate and foreign commerce on the multiple occasions with the intent they engaged in prostitution. Forfeiture allegation. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count 1 of this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18 United States Code section any and all interest the defendant acquired or maintained in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1962, and any and all interstates in security of claims against and property or contractual rights of any kind affording a source of influence over the enterprise named and described herein, which the defendant established, operated, controlled, conducted, and participated in the conduct of in violation of Title 18, United States Code Section 1962, and any and all property constituting and derived from proceeds obtained directly and indirectly as said offenses, including but not limited to the sum of money in United States currency representing the amount proceed traceable to commission of said offense. Baby, they coming for the money, honey. They coming for the money. As a result of committing the offenses alleged in count 2 of this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18 United States Code Section any and all property, real and personal, involved in, used, or intended to be used to commit or facilitate the commission of said offense, and all any properties traceable to such property, any and all property, real and personal, constituting. Baby, they finna take houses. Where the babies gonna live? He finna take houses. And his sons was on TV. They're not doing him any favors talking about who these houses are in the names of. As a result of committing the offenses alleged in count 3 of this indictment, Sean Combs, aka, well, we're not going to read all the AKAs, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States pursuant to Title 18 United States Code Section 2428, any and all property, real and personal, constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of said offenses, and any and all property, real or personal, that was used or intended to be used to commit or facilitate the commission of said offense. And Title 18 United States Code 981A1C and Title 28 United States Code Section 2461, and any and all property, real and personal, that constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense, including but not limited to a sum of money in the United States currency representing the amount proceeds traceable and to the commission of said offense. It says here, substitute asset provision. If any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of act or omission of the defendant cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third person, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, or has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty. It is the intent of the United States, pursuant to Title 18 United States Code Section 1963M, Title 21 United States Code Section 853P, and Title 28 United States Code Section 2461C, to seek forfeiture of any property of the defendant up to the value of the above forfeitable property. Y'all, that was a lot. These folks are not playing with Diddy. I will come back. I just wanted to be able to read that information to you. I will come back here later on this evening. We will go over it again. And hopefully there'll be some more information. But this was the indictment, y'all. This is what they got him in. And those of you all that are running around here telling all the little Diddy horror stories, y'all are not safe. Y'all are not safe. Instead of running to the internet, y'all should have been running to the U.S. District Attorney's Office at telling your stories, but y'all are not safe, because if y'all participated in all of this mess, even as an employee, y'all are not safe. All right, people, we do this every week. I'm going to be following this. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, so a mess. Again, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos, child. And as always, people, bye-bye.